All right, let's dive into a story from a very long time ago. We're going back to a distant era, way before our modern bustling cities. We're talking about the reign of a ruler named King Arisa. Now, King Arisa was obviously a man who commanded a lot of royal power. But you know what? That isn't actually what defined him. What he truly valued, above all else, was hard work and sincerity. For him, these weren't just, nice-sounding ideals to put on a royal banner. They were literally the bedrock of a life well lived. In fact, he held this one personal philosophy so deeply that it completely guided his reign. His absolute favorite proverb was, "Work is worship." He genuinely believed that sincere, dedicated effort was actually a sacred act in itself. So, one day, the king decides to put this to the test. He wants to know if his people actually share his values, right? He really wanted to check the true pulse of his kingdom. So he calls in some of his servants and sends them out to see exactly what jobs the people were doing and, more importantly, if they were actually doing them sincerely. His command to them was totally absolute. He tells his servants, "Find the person who knows the secret of hard work and bring him to me." No pressure, right? But with that crystal clear order ringing in their ears, the search across the kingdom officially kicks off. The servants head out, and their very first encounter is with a woodcutter. There he is, out in the elements, just hacking away, felling trees with this massive axe. We're talking incredibly strenuous, physically demanding labor here. So they walk right up to him, dodging the falling timber, and ask him straight up, "Oh, woodcutter, do you like your job?" And man, his response is immediate. He literally flings this heavy axe aside, looks at the royal servants with just pure sadness, and says, "Not at all. I do it because this work was passed to me by my ancestors." For this guy, there's zero joy in the labor. It's just this unavoidable, heavy burden he inherited. Totally heartbreaking. Well, the servants quickly realized he definitely doesn't know the secret they're looking for, so they leave him. They travel a few more kilometers across the land, and eventually they stumble upon their second subject, a washerman, who is just super busy with his trade. They approach him, hoping to uncover a slightly better sentiment this time. They ask him, "Hello there, Mr. Washerman. Do you enjoy your work?" Okay, so the washerman's reaction, completely different from the woodcutter's sadness. This guy just gets mad. He starts beating the clothes against the stones even harder. He snaps back, "Is this work enjoyable? It's a punishment for me." And then he breaks down exactly why it feels like a punishment. He confesses that when he was a kid, he, quote, "did not show much interest in studying. He never listened to his parents, never put in the hard work. Because of those past choices, his present reality was completely sealed." He tells them, "So I could not qualify for a good job. Now my family is dependent on me, and I have to do this job to feed them." Basically, this work wasn't a choice or a passion for him at all. It was just a harsh necessity born out of his past neglect. So, having seen just sadness and anger so far, the servants leave the washerman behind. They travel another few kilometers, keeping the quest alive. And that's when they spot a young man. But he's not doing hard physical labor. He's sitting quietly, deeply engrossed in studying. They're pretty drawn to this quiet focus. It's such a huge contrast to the first two guys. So they walk up and ask, "What are you doing, young man?" The young man looks up from his book. He's totally calm, really earnest, and says, "I am a teacher. I am reading this book so that I can teach my students tomorrow." But then he adds something that just shifts the whole vibe of the conversation. He says, "It gives me great joy to impart knowledge." Hearing this incredible joy in his work, the servants practically lean in. This is it. They hit him with the king's ultimate test. Do you know the secret of hard work? Without even a second of hesitation, the young teacher replies, "Yes, work is worship." Boom. He had independently voiced the exact truth that King Arisa valued so much. The servants know instantly that their long search is finally over. They bring the teacher right back to King Arisa. And when the king hears the teacher's philosophy, he is absolutely thrilled. He finally found someone who truly understood his favorite proverb. To reward this incredible, joyful dedication to duty, the king actually builds a massive new school for the teacher's students. So, taking a step back to look at this whole story, we've got to ask ourselves a few questions. First, what did King Arisa actually value? Remember, it was those twin pillars of hard work and sincerity that kicked this entire narrative into gear in the first place. And what did he try to find out? Well, he wasn't okay with just holding these ideals by himself. He absolutely needed to know if his people felt the same way. He was searching for the truth of his kingdom. Then think about our first encounter. What did the woodcutter say was the reason he was doing his job? His answer is this heavy reminder that when we just inherit a duty without finding any personal connection to it, it just feels like a crushing burden. Finally, what did the washerman say was the reason he was doing his job? This one is a pretty stark warning, isn't it? It shows us how the choices we make or, fail to make when we're young can literally turn our daily work into what feels like a lifelong punishment. It really leaves us with a huge question to chew on. What is the true secret behind the work you do every day?